If you're into esports, gaming, or maybe even if you've ever thought about investing into real estate, this next podcast is for you. We're talking to an entrepreneur, CEO of an esports and gaming company, hotel developer, just a guy with a wealth of experience in entrepreneurship and what it's like to create generational wealth. His name is Morris Jackson. He's a business manager at Axel Maximus as well. He's helped us create countless of generational wealth pieces for our athletes. I think it's somebody you guys will really enjoy listening to. And you can use this podcast as a catalyst in your wealth creation journey. Hope you enjoy it. Hello, everybody, friends and ballers. Thank you so much for joining us again here at The Formula. Today is an amazing day for me because I am joined by a dear friend, a colleague, a fellow entrepreneur, but most importantly, somebody I love and respect. And we've grown to really cohesively work together towards our goals. I love the fact that we're here, MJ. Morris Jackson, ladies and gentlemen, CEO of Valhalla, business manager, just like an extraordinaire. MJ, welcome to the Formula, man. It's awesome having you here, bro.
No, thanks, Edgar. It's an honor to be on. I've been waiting for my moment, so it's been long overdue, in my opinion.
It is overdue. It is overdue. Happy to be here with you, man. And we're gonna talk about a lot of cool things. As you guys know, the formula is all about understanding people's formula and vision for success. And Morris has had, I think 2 or 3 careers in a lifetime. You've done a lot of amazing, really cool things. So I want to start there. I really want to spend a lot of time really getting people to understand you, how you've gotten to where you are today, and a little bit more about your background story.
Yeah, yeah. So I grew up in Southern California. Went to high school, graduated from high school there, and got accepted to college there. But in a very short period of time, recognized that football and college at that moment wasn't really right for me. Um,
There was no
and
NIL.
mainly
You were making a couple million in NIL back then.
No, I wish we had an NIL back then. I probably would have stayed and I probably would have kept playing. But um, the NIL came from banking. So banking
Right.
ended up showing me a career pathway and quickly joined banking as a merchant teller. It was a part-time job as I was playing football at SDSU. And then all of a sudden, after playing football and working inside the bank part-time, the bank came to me and said, you know what? We need you. We want you to go full time. And I'm like, no, no, no. I got college. I got sports. I can't do it. And they said, but you'll be making this much. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe football. I don't really see a future of football. I'm like, let me go over here instead.
Business decisions had to be made.
Yeah, so that's what kind of started my journey inside the financial services industry. So I quickly went from a teller all the way up to an executive vice president and market leader for a few Fortune 500 banks. But I did that for 25 years, and it really, I would say, it was good and bad. One, the good about it, it shaped me and provided me with the coaching, the structure, the disciplines, the knowledge, the experience that I have today.
Right.
What where it was a disappointment was I gave it too many of my years, right? I could have probably gotten what I wanted from the financial services industry in 5, 10 years. And I've always said to myself, and even back then when I got into banking, I'm only doing this for 5 years and I'm going to leave and start my own business. And then 5 years passed, and then 10 years, and then 15, and then 20, and then 25. And then finally, I had the courage to step away and start my own business. And went from, joining a startup company to buying real estate to, building a hotel to buying a flooring company and then buying esports and then, joining forces with you at Axel Maximus. It's just ever since I kind of cut the ties of corporate, that corporate, box,
Hmm.
I've been able to kind of, spread my wings and find all the things that I was blessed and given and given the gifts to actually do in life. And so
I
it's
feel
been
you.
amazing since then.
Yeah, and let me tell you, I think a big part of what connected us originally when we first met was that we have similar backgrounds, right? Like
Mhm.
athletes, in the middle of their college careers or so-called careers, and realized, this may not be what I wanted, which is going professional. And we both landed in the banking world, right? I was able to escape in year 10 and a half, almost 11
Yeah,
from
you did the
banking.
right thing.
And every time I hear you say that, I'm like, I escaped, I did it.
Yeah.
But I totally understand you, because what happens is, it creates a foundation for who you are as a businessman. From an integrity standpoint, in banking, there's lots of rules, regulations, compliance. And I know you're a lot like me, where we like to do things the right way. And
Yeah.
now, as you're saying, you opened up that box of entrepreneurship, and now all of a sudden, sky's the limit. But you do
Mhm.
have this opportunity to, based of that foundation, build whatever you want. And you've been able to do that unbelievably well. And I know we're going to talk about a lot of things that you're currently doing and we've done. But I think a big part of this is, as athletes, sometimes our identity is set in the sport we play, right? You were a football
Mhm.
player, and that's all you were until you became a banker and you started your career in financial services. For me, it was all about baseball. I didn't really have a life outside of it. And it wasn't until I stopped playing baseball that I realized the opportunities, the sky was the limit, and the opportunities that I had in life were tremendous beyond baseball. A lot of the athletes we speak to are in the middle of their careers right now professionally, but they don't see past that. It's hard for them to say what happens after retirement, because their identity has been so focused and concentrated in sports. And then you start having these financial conversations as to what happens after you retire, and there aren't a lot of answers. What is your vision, your visual when you talk to athletes, and we have a couple of guys that were in the Super Bowl now, right? The Super Bowl
Yeah.
just finished last weekend, and that is all they're focused on. And when you start having conversations about life after football or after sports, what are some of the guys telling you? What is your experience on that side?
Yeah. I will first start off by saying, I try to use what I went through and try to help others not make the same mistakes. So, like I mentioned, when I started in banking, when I played football, as I was growing up, the only thing that was discussed with me was football.
Right.
I stumbled into banking, but then when I got into banking, the only thing that was fed to me was banking. And so what I've noticed, what tends to happen is we can end up getting kind of sucked up in the process, right? And when we're sucked into the process, we don't always recognize new opportunities that are coming at us because we are told by so many other people what we have become or what we will become.
Right.
And so it kind of forces us to stay in a lane. And so I stayed in the lane of football for my whole life until, again, I got into banking and I shipped lanes. And unfortunately, money's always the influence, but money is also sometimes what traps you too, because I was trapped in banking because of money. And because I was moving up so fast in my career, then I started having kids. So, the family dynamics, I got married, buying a house. So the more obviously debt I'm creating, the more need I have for income. And because of that, and the bank kept providing for me, right? Great
Right.
opportunities, great stock option plans, great retirement plans, like everything they wanted. But what I've quickly started to learn is those were just anchors, not sales, right?
Wow.
And so I ended up trapping myself. And so I trapped myself for 25 years. And then finally I broke through. But if you think about it, that happens to a lot of people, whether it's athletes who are told that they are going to be one thing and they finally hit that goal, but no one ever really speaks to them about what comes next. No one ever, we're given a dream of one thing. So I was given a dream of playing football, and then I was given a dream of what I could become in banking. And I went after, once those dreams are accomplished, you think I've made it. Like I'm in Willy Wonka's, chocolate
Yeah.
factory land now. I'm there. I don't need to go anywhere else. And that's not the case. There's so much more you can accomplish. So what I like to do with all of my guys is help them understand that every step gets you closer to the next step. But if you don't know what that next step is, you're you don't know what to take. Most of the time, people, a lot of the guys who play professional sports or even in or trapped in that corporate world, they think that next step is a cliff when
Right.
it's not really a cliff, it's your step up, right? It's that next step up, right? And so, but helping people recognize that that next step is a step up is the hardest part.
It is.
Because again, when someone's told you your dream your whole life was going to play in the NFL and you reach that dream, you sometimes don't know what's next. And when you don't know what's next, you're scared to take that next step. It's like kind of going into a haunted house. You don't know what's in that next room. So sometimes you're kind of nervous. I've kind of learned how to fight through that.
Right.
And
Don't
so
be
what
afraid
I
of the
want to do,
unknown, right? Yeah.
yeah. And so what I do is try to help the guys that I support help turn that unknown to the known. So it's really starts off by developing a genuine relationship with them. It's about getting to know them, getting to know their past, getting to know where they're at today, getting to know their family dynamic, getting to know the people who are close to them, getting to know their network, and then building a relationship through that. And then once I do that, through time, we're able to discover what comes next. And then as we determine what comes next, my number one goal is to help every single one of my guys see a life after football,
Right.
or see a life after UFC, or a life after WWE, because there is a life after that. Because whether the career is taken from you, or whether it's time for you to move on from the career because your
Yeah.
body just won't let you do it, there's something that comes next, and in helping players and individuals find that next is my number one goal. So I call it the second chapter or the third chapter,
That's cool.
right?
Because
Typically, chapter one is the high school to college. Chapter two is college to pros. But then again, a lot of people don't talk about chapter three, and so I make it a point to talk about that. To start helping them write chapter three, and whatever that is for them, that's what we kind of discover together. So I was kind of like, I heard this old saying, or I heard this saying a long time ago. It's like there's two special moments in your life. Well, my wife tells me it's three. It's the day you're born, right? And my wife tells me it's the day I met her, which is
right.
true.
Judy, shout out
Um,
Judy.
yeah, but the third special moment is when you discover who you really are and
Right.
discover your why. And so, a lot of these NFL players, their why isn't the NFL. That's just a key or that next step to get them closer to their why and their purpose, and to help them get to who they really are. And so my goal is to help them find their why.
Yeah, to be honest with you, when you take a step back and you look at people who have had successful lives beyond football, you look at the Tim Tebow's, or you look at the
Mhm.
Pat McAfee's, right? Like I watched
Yeah.
Pat McAfee on his podcast and his show, and on College Game Day. He was born to do that. I think he
Hmm.
happened to be a punter in the NFL because it was the roadmap he needed to take to get to where he needed to take. But this guy was born to perform on that stage. If you see Tim
Hmm.
Tebow and the difference he's making in the world with his foundation, all the different things he does, these are guys that that have used sports as a platform to really get to that next stage. But
Yeah.
it's hard to see it when that's all you've worked for. You mentioned a couple of
Yeah.
things that I love. Um, Number one, I have two kids, two boys, and one of the things that characterizes children is they want to be many things. And when you're a kid, nobody puts limits on you, right? Especially as
Hmm.
parents, you could be anything you want, right? So my youngest son wants to be a rock star. He wants to be a basketball player. He wants to be a football player. He wants to do all these different things. And you'll never hear from me saying, well, you could do either this one or that one. And I think
Hmm.
that's a lot of what we're talking about is you are not just a football player. You're not just a basketball player. You're not just a music artist. You can be many things. And ultimately, there is a platform that you've accomplished, which allows you to create income. But a big part of what athletes don't realize is the moment you sign, you get drafted into a sports league, or the moment you're a music artist and you sign a contract, you are now part of the corporate world, just like you and I were part of
Yeah.
banking. You're a
Hmm.
W 2 employee working for a
Yep.
corporation, for a massive
Yep.
organization. And the truth of the matter is, you're a cog in a big system.
Yep.
And a lot of what I try to get them to see is the big difference between you and somebody working 40, 50 years in a company for whatever salary they're getting is that the salary you're receiving as part of this corporation allows you to make monster moves outside of your job to set you up for the rest of your life. Because
Hmm.
as opposed to anybody's parents or anybody that works in corporate for a long time that makes $100,000 a year, but they work for 40, 50 years, you're going to work for 7 or 8 or
Hmm.
10 if you're
Yep.
lucky, and you're going to
Yep.
make all the same amount of money, but in a very short period of time. So it's really a springboard for you to kind of launch your next step and make sure that that next step sets you up for life. So I love the examples you brought up, and the fact that you're having these conversations with guys, because a lot of times their guidance is their parents or a financial advisor or an agent, and those people don't have the experience either to show them what happens beyond that. So super cool, and I appreciate it. And when we're talking about the topic of what else is next, you and I are working together in developing land and working with athletes on real estate, right?
Yeah.
I want to introduce the topic of real estate with you real quick, because first of all, there's a lot of meat in that, but we got there's a lot to cut there. I think we love real estate as an asset class beyond their investment portfolio, right? A lot of guys, their track is, I signed with an agent before the draft or now in college in the NIL. And then right away I go to a financial advisor because I'm making a lot of money, or I'm projected to make a lot of money, and I want somebody to manage it. And the expectation is the advisor is going to guide them through their entire financial lives. But the truth of the matter is, financial advisors are great, and I'm a former financial advisor, I can tell you, they're great at one key thing, which is managing your portfolio and trying to grow it. And they need two things. They need time and they need money. Like, they need you to give them as much as possible, but they also need you to give them time for them to invest it in different markets and grow it. The challenge is, you need cash flow. You need things that give you passive income so you can start covering your bills between now and when this money grows. And real estate happens to be one of them. How did you begin your life, once you left banking? How did you get involved into real estate, and how did you end up launching and owning a hotel? Like, how did you get to that step?
Yeah, and you make a great point, right? I think, financial advisors are amazing. And they all, and I would tell you how to kind of put this the right way. There are certain financial advisors who are very special and really understand what it means to help a player, or help anyone in general,
True.
amass wealth and turn your wealth into generational wealth. And then there are financial advisors that are more of, I don't even know if this is a word, preservationist. Like,
Yeah.
they help you preserve
Preserve
what
your
you
wealth.
built. Yeah.
Right.
Both are good, but one's better than the other. I like the advisors who help you figure out ways to create generational wealth,
Yeah.
not advisors who help you just sit on wealth and preserve it. Because as you know, over time, it's going to go away.
Right.
And especially if you don't navigate your spending habits, navigate, your lifestyle. There's going to be a lot of adjustments that's going to need to be made. Like, you gotta throttle down.
Yeah.
And most people don't want to throttle down. And that was for me. Like, when I left banking, I could have throttled down, right? I could have said, okay, I'm gonna go from fifth speed to third speed, or third speed to one speed, and just cruise the rest of my life. But I mean,
Nobody wants to do that.
yeah, I was 40 at the time.
Right.
Although I could have probably figured out ways to preserve, my capital, and live a modest life, right? Maybe even get another job and just didn't have to work as hard, or whatever the strategy was. I could have figured out a way to preserve my wealth, but I'm like, no, how do I accelerate this? Because the one thing I learned from a lot of entrepreneurs is that going after what you want in life takes a lot of courage. Because again, going back, you gotta walk into the unknown. And so I had to really start understanding what are the different strategies out there. And so I started to look at all these different people who've accumulated wealth, right? And I started realizing there's like 4 tiers you want to have in your life, right? You always want to have a tier 1, which is like your stability. Like, those are the assets you have that helps you kind of sleep at night. And I accumulated that in banking, right? And then there's tier 2s, right? That's your growth, your compounding capital, where like public equities and ETFs and index funds and structured alternatives. Those are kind of like long-term compounding. You want to put your money in today and just leave it there for the next 10, 20 years, right? Because you got to let it compound.
Right.
I had that in banking too. My financial advisor, who I used, helped build that. But what I noticed when I left banking, it kind of stopped there.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, what's that tier 3? And I said, okay, well, that's how do I control my capital? I want control of my capital. And so that tier 3 in my eyes was like ownership. And ownership can be in real estate, it can be in business, it can be in owning a franchise, it can be private equity, it can be strategic partnerships, right? That's where I started to learn that's where generational wealth is at. And so I started off when I left banking, I went for the very first one. That was real estate. Easy enough. I bought my home before. Actually, I bought 3 homes. I'm like, so who tells you you can't have 4, 5, 6, 7? Now, no knock to banking. Actually, I'm going to knock banking
Knock it.
because banking will tell you you shouldn't have all these homes.
Right.
You're over leveraging yourself. You're adding too much to your liabilities on your balance sheet. But what they forget to remind you of is that, yeah, you're adding a $500,000 debt on your liability side, but how much did you just add over
On the asset side.
on the asset side?
Right.
And then how much of that asset actually is turning into cash flow for you?
Correct.
Like they don't tell you that. All they want to do is tell you you have too much debt because why? The bank doesn't want. So how can I put this? They'll tell you they don't want you to be overexposed, but in essence, what they're saying is we don't want to be overexposed, right?
Right.
And so I end up, I learned from a really good friend of mine. His name was Hassan Sheikh. He taught me how real estate is a natural pathway to that generational wealth. So Judy and I ended up buying our 4th home, and then our 5th home, and then our 6th home, and then our 7th home. It took that first one. It's funny, we bought our first $1 million home. We don't live in it, but we bought our first $1 million home, but turned that into an asset class for us, right? So then I started to learn real estate as that asset class, and then I stepped into buying land. And then I bought we bought a piece of dirt in near old kind of like the old Las Vegas downtown. We saw that it was being renovated. I started to spend a lot of time in the Las Vegas Economic Development Department because if you spent time in your city's economic development department, they'll tell you what's coming to the city.
Right. Right.
I ended up getting some insight that Atomic Golf was coming into the city. If you're not familiar with Atomic Golf, it's the competitor to Top Golf, right? Vegas already had Top Golf. Atomic, and that was south of Vegas. North of Vegas, they were looking to draw traffic and tourism up there, so they built Atomic Golf.
Okay.
And so when I saw that was coming, I started driving around, and I started seeing all these little businesses start to open and be kind of remodeled and reimagined. And so I realized, okay, something special is happening down here. And so what I ended up doing is finding some dirt, and myself and Hassan and a developer purchased the dirt and built our first 18-unit apartment complex. And when I saw how, I don't want to say it was easy because it's never easy, and you got to be patient with these at times. But when I saw it go from dirt to doors actually opening, I was like, wow, I did it.
It's possible.
It's possible. And so what ends up happening to me anytime I see something's possible, I want to do it again and see how far I can push it. I want to see what comes next,
I
right?
love it.
And so then I went and we found some dirt up in Blackfoot, Idaho. And then my grandfather always taught me, my grandfather's name is Louis Owens, and one of the first Black entrepreneurs in Peoria, Illinois, had a long-standing carpet cleaning business that opened the eyes to Black ownership in the city. And so I've always admired him as a mentor, and he's been my Quan, right? He's that person I look up to. And he's the one that inspired me to want to be an entrepreneur. And I knew I always wanted to take that track because of him. But he taught me at a young age, you always want to buy land on a freeway or a highway or a corner. And so if there's ever dirt on the corner, if there's ever dirt that's right off of a highway or right off of a freeway, buy it, right? And so I found this dirt off the highway, and luckily for us, we got it at a very low cost. Not knowing what it was going to be, it was Highway 91. And then probably 8 months later, the city of Idaho renamed that highway to Yellowstone National Park Highway.
Unbelievable.
I'm like, okay, something needs to be done here, right?
God is good.
Yeah, I'm like, opportunity. Yeah, God's blessed us with this, so we got to do something with it. And there's this, and don't quote me on this, you might have to edit this, but I know there's a passage that I remember in the Bible that talks about how God gave 3 individuals coin, right?
Right.
One chose to sit on it, one chose to share it, and the other one chose to give it all away. He didn't bless the one who sat on it. He moderately blessed the one who shared it. He overwhelmed, he 10 times, the person who gave it all away, who shared it, who realized what I give is not mine, but I will be provided for
Right.
regardless. So I was kind of kept that mindset, like, just because I have something, don't sit on it, keep growing it, right? So long story short, we buy this land, renamed the highway, renamed, and then I'm like, God, there's something I gotta do with this, because God wouldn't have done this for no reason.
Right.
He wants me to do something, right? So I end up calling on my resources, and that's another thing. Surround yourself with people who are smarter than you.
That's a good
So
one.
if you ever want to level up your surrounding first. Because if you don't level up your surrounding, anytime you want to level up, the people around you, if it's the wrong people, will pull you right back down.
Right back down.
They'll tell you what you can't do, what's not possible. It's kind of like working for the bank, right? That if you go to your bank for advice, your bank will tell you all the reasons why you shouldn't do it.
From their perspective.
Versus,
Everybody's going to
yeah,
talk to you from their
very
perspective.
narrow perspective versus giving you the one reason why you should, and then go after it, right? So I end up calling a good friend of mine here named Scott Burdett and told him what happened to the land. He was like, Mo, you got to develop the dirt now. And I'm like, can I just sell it? He was like, you could, but why? Let's talk about what's possible here. So he sat me down and talked to me about commercial development and commercial mixed use and residential homes. And then he mentioned hotels and introduced me to the Wyndhams, the Choice, the IHGs, the Hyatts of the world. And it was funny enough, when I met with all those hotel brands, three of the five of them wanted me to actually sell the dirt or lease the dirt to another hotel builder because they had experience. It was only two brands that convinced me to build it myself and own it myself. There was only one of the two who said, we are going to hold your hand throughout the entire process because your success means everything to us. So as you can imagine, I went with the one who said that to me.
Right.
Lo and behold, there's also the one that offered the best benefits and the best support and the best key money and the best everything else. But what was great is they taught me everything from beginning to end and got me to a place where they approved me, and now we're building our first hotel. But again, it came directly from me not stopping and me recognizing there was more out there. And I could have taken that dirt, and once it got renamed and sold it for maybe a 2x return, but why when I can turn it into a 50 or 100x return?
And I'll tell you why. A big part of what you've described is you having a vision. You having a vision for what you are trying to achieve, and you understood that 2x return wasn't generational wealth for your children. It wasn't a long-lasting impact for your last name. What it was a profit on a business deal, right?
Yep.
So when you recognize that and you have that vision, then you're able to make better decisions. A big part of what we talk about in Axel Maximus is create your vision first. Create your financial plan first. Your vision for what you want your family to do, what you want your last name to mean, what you want generational wealth to be. What's the description? And we got a lot of guys that tell us, I want to be a billionaire. But there are other guys that say, I love horses. I want to live in my ranch and I want to be left alone. Leave me alone. I just want to do that. And I want to know that I'm not going to go broke while living in my ranch and doing my thing. Yeah. Whatever your vision for life is, I think the key component here is once you have clarity on your vision, decisions become much easier to make. And in your example, you have this plot of land that doubled in value, and let's be honest, that's a fantastic investment, for by any means, right? You put $1 million and take out two, that's a win. But when you take that out beyond that and you say this $1 million land could become a $50 million development, and beyond that, it can give my family $1.2, $1.5 million on an annual basis. Now you have cash flow. Now you have a long-lasting valued property. And now you can actually grab that and build upon it to create a portfolio of multiple properties, just like you started with one and then you ended up with 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I love the fact you described that, because to me, all that tells us is you don't know what's possible until you try it, right? Where do you know where the line is if you're not willing to cross it? And I think what will end up happening is guys work really, really hard to become professional athletes. You have two-a-days, you have multiple practices, you have coaches, you have off-season practices, you have all this physical effort that you put yourself through to make it to a professional league. Finance is very similar. You got to be disciplined. You gotta get your stuff in order. You gotta have budgets. You gotta know control your spending. All these different things. They're all a way of disciplining yourself to then be able to make those decisions that set you up for life. But I love this story with the hotel because I got to piggyback off of that experience that you got. And then once one of our clients had a similar plot of land that, by the way, they could have sold and flipped for 2-3 times X, they decided, no, we're going to do something with this. And that's when Track West Ventures, which is, the company you own, you're CEO of, came in and partnered with us. And really the vision became really clear when you guys came into the picture because you said, listen, we've done this before. We have all these hotel franchises. Let me explain to you how it works. And it really opened their eyes to, holy crap, like, this is a business. Everybody here has stayed in a hotel. Like anyone has stayed in a hotel, whether you go to Disney World or you go to a travel team with your kids, whatever it is, everyone stays in hotels often. So it's a valued business model. Then you showed us how through COVID, it actually went up. There was an uptick in hotel usage, which tells you a ton about the sustainability of it as an asset class. And then you start saying, well, you got the benefits of real estate, the backing of a franchise, the marketing of a franchise. There's a lot of pluses to this. It made a lot of sense. And now we have a 15-acre property that we're not only putting a hotel in, but we're also putting a commercial mixed-use space in. So
that when you first got it, remember, was going to be a motel.
It was going to be a motel with a no-name motel. And we're trying to, and then you start talking. I talk to a lot of guys about that story specifically because they're like, dude, I'm not $100 million baseball guy. Like I'm just a journeyman athlete that I've gotten moderate contracts through my life. I've spent some money that I wish I didn't, and I'm sitting on a small stack of cash, 5-7 million, and that's all I got to my name. And my retirement is coming soon. How am I going to build a $25 million, $30 million hotel? Like that is probably beyond my means of what I can do. And one of the things that we were able to work through together is how the financing of these things work, how you can work with OTP, right? Other people's money, bank money. And now our banking background really comes into play because now we understand, dude, every time you see a building or you see a housing complex or you see all these different things, most of the times it's being financed by banks. And there's a mathematical formula for you to put yourself in those positions.
99% of the time.
99.99%
of the time, it's through OTM. It's someone else's money they are using to build that. You are absolutely right.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. But I want to step back for a minute because you said something that even kind of a light bulb went off for me too, and I'm like, God, there it is, right there, right? And you talked about having a vision first. You got to have a vision for ultimately you want to become. And I think that next layer is that then you got to have people you look up to that kind of hit that vision, that kind of walk that path so you can learn from. It's kind of going back to that level up, right? And I told you about my grandfather, but another guy that I followed, and I think I shared this with you at one time, was Ulysses Bridgman, right? Junior Bridgman.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Most people who are in business know about him, but most people from a sports lens don't really know about him.
Right.
But this guy spent about 12 NBA seasons playing in the league. Was always a 6-man, sometimes 7th, sometimes 8-man. Really was never a starter.
Definition of a journeyman.
Definition of a journeyman, right? But what the man did, again, if he lived in fear, he would have never done this. If he lived in preservation, he would have never done this. I guarantee you he had an advisor that kept him tier 1, tier 2, didn't want him to go tier 3, but he ignored them. He went tier 3. He went to that tier that really focused on the ownership and control of his capital. So what did he do? He started with every check. He started buying franchises, right? So he bought a bunch of Wendy's and he bought Chili's and he bought, some other franchises. I think the number ended up coming out, he owned over 250.
Over 250.
250 Wendy's and then ended up owning over 100 Chili's, right? Across 20 states.
And one of the stories I love most about him is that there were times early on in that structure that he was building where he himself had to go in and serve burgers or serve
Yeah,
drinks or take the cashier. And a lot of people were like, oh, how sad this NBA player had to go
yeah,
get a side job. Little did
yeah.
they know,
He
right?
owned it.
He
Yeah,
owned it and he was
yeah,
running it. So
yeah.
I love that story.
But he also leveraged capital to do that, not just his own, but through debt, through structured financing, through partners, through JVs. He did all the things that, again, banks don't tell you about. Banks like,
Right.
hey, you want to buy a business, you buy a business that cash flows after 3 years, then we'll give you the money. But how do I start it? Oh, we don't want to help you when you start. We'll help you when you figure it out. But
We
where
don't
do
want
I
to give
get
you
the
money
money?
when you need it. We want to give you money
Yeah.
when you don't need it.
And so then what most people do is they go get a hard money loan that puts them in that suffocates their business, and right.
Right.
And so all the profits you are making is going to the loan. And so you're really not making money. And so then when you go to the bank and say, hey, refinance me out of this debt, my business will be able to cash flow. They go, oh, wait, you didn't make money the first 3 years,
Right.
but it was because of the debt. Now, some banks are smart and recognize, okay, well, if we do refinance that debt, that will free up cash flows for you to service this debt. But again, you got to hope that you have a bank who is sophisticated enough and will take the time to read your financials and to readjust your financials to do that.
Right.
Again, not a lot of people do that. But going back to Junior, it reminded me that when I started reading about his story and what he accomplished, this man in 2016 was Forbes' fourth wealthiest retired athlete in the world that no one knew about. The only three other athletes that were ahead of him was Michael Jordan, David Beckham, and Arnold Palmer.
Next level, man.
Four. Someone who rode the bench.
Right?
Fourth wealthiest man in the world.
Billionaire.
During the time, when you know as well as I do, during that time, the NBA wasn't paying Michael Jordan money at that time.
At all.
So
I don't
it's
think he
not
made
like
more
it
than
was-
3 million in his career.
Thank you, right? But what did he do? He didn't live in fear. He lived in this capital control mindset.
Right.
He was going to control his capital. He wasn't going to let his advisor preserve it or put it in a long-term strategy. I'm pretty sure he had a portion of his assets allocated in those first two tiers, but he says, I'm going to go after tier 3.
Right.
And did it, and look what he became. And so, if you read his story, you'll hear also about how he ended up investing in Coca-Cola bottling company, and now he has a sports and media company. He bought Ebony and Jet magazine. Like, he's done all these. He's never stopped, though. He could have even settled after being the fourth richest person in the world, but he was like, no, there's more for me to do.
Right.
So he bought the bottling company, he bought Ebony, he bought Jet, he did he kept going. And when I saw that, I'm like, there should never be an end.
There shouldn't be an end.
You got to keep, what's your biggest vision? Like what's that bit? And if you're not sharing that, if you're not helping people create that, and then you're not surrounding them with those people, you're never going to, you won't ever discover your real purpose as to why you should be here. That
Absolutely.
the NBA, the NFL, the UFC, that's not the reason you're here.
It's a platform.
That was the platform. Yeah. That is the platform. That is the catalyst. That is the springboard that helps you get to where you really supposed to be. And you have to use it for that.
I love Junior's story, and I'll tell you, I think he passed away recently. And one of the most impactful things, because we talk about generational wealth, is his daughter took over the empire. And now she runs the entire thing. It's super impressive because he kept reinventing himself. And he really should be the model to follow, because it's easy to be, forgive me, David, but it's easy to be David Beckham and be a billionaire, right? You're David freaking Beckham, right?
Yeah.
When you look at the bigger names that are billionaire athletes,
Or
the
Michael
Magic
Jordan.
Johnson, the Magic Johnson, the Michael Jordans, the Tiger Woods, like these guys have, their platforms are 10x. But when you look at Junior Bridgman not having the biggest platform and still making that kind of impact and creating that kind of generational wealth, you realize that it's all possible. But let's focus on one thing, because I love your philosophy with the 4 levels, and we've talked a lot about level 3, but part of level 3 and level 4 and that entire world in entrepreneurship is having a vision for what's next. Like he invested in the Coca-Cola bottling company because he realized there's a massive need and it could create massive growth. We live in an AI technological world. Everybody's using ChatGPT as Google nowadays, and there's a ton of upside and things that are happening. On the sports side, there's this thing called esports. And I think 99.9% of our athletes are also gamers. I used to game when I was a kid. I don't game nearly as much as like it's completely changed, but that game has changed significantly. And you just so happen to be the CEO of one of the leading companies in this world, in the esports world. Valhalla is something I've become really passionate about the more I've learned. I am also a parent of gamers. That's the little bit of gaming that I squeeze in is with my kids and they kick my ass, which is
Yeah.
pretty like crazy to realize. But
Come to Valhalla and we'll coach you to beat them.
but you are right now at the Valhalla Arena in
Yeah.
Vegas. You guys have a ton of locations. I want to talk about it a lot because we've talked at length as to how esports is the future, as to what that is doing to the sports landscape. And I have a lot of athletes that are super, super interested in what the future of this market is. So, as
Hmm.
entrepreneurs, as owners, but also as users, I think there's a lot of interest in really understanding that world. Talk to me about esports. How did Valhalla start, and where is this world heading?
Yeah. So I would say, to kind of button up the four tiers, this is actually tier four, right? In my eyes, that's that level of it's high risk, high reward, right? That's that limited allocation, right? That's the what is it called? It's the speculative
Yeah,
market.
yeah,
Like it's all you gotta. It's no one's defined it yet. You are the one who are defining it. And so that's how I've kind of stumbled into Valhalla. So I always call that tier four, kind of like your startup, your crypto, your angel investing, your venture funds. So I decided to jump in. Obviously, I did crypto first, and I'm still in crypto. I won't move my positions on crypto. But then I went into startups, and that's when I got into Valhalla. And Valhalla is still a startup. Me and my partners, we started off with just 3 locations, then we grew to 5. Then from 5, we end up growing to 23. And then to 23, now we're over 50. And we did this
wow.
all in the span of a year and a half. And it's a market we are 100% bullish on. Um, I call it right now, it's the way I like to describe it is that esports has been around for, God, over, I don't want to say probably over 100 years,
Listen, I was in
right?
college 20 years ago, and there was online gaming, so
Yeah,
at
yeah,
least
and
that
maybe
much.
100 might be too far back, but let's just say 50, right? Because I'm thinking, what did we even have electricity in 100? I don't know, but my point is, right? Esports has been around for a while, and but esports has always been this more like casual environment, right? But even back, in the early 60s and 70s, esports had this way of bringing people together. I think we all remember when we were kids, like you and I are going to someone's house, someone had Madden, we're all hanging around, watching each other play, waiting
There's two
for our
remotes,
turn,
and you're waiting for your turn. Yeah,
right? So we all remember those days. So it always had a way of bringing people together. And then obviously the pandemic happened, and then esports gaming accelerated even more.
yeah,
Esports kind of stayed here, gaming took off because it was a way for people to stay active and stay connected all through online. But what ended up happening is people lost the in-person connectivity. And so one thing we wanted to do with Valhalla and bringing we want to bring back that in-person connectivity. We built these esports training facilities to help with 2 things. One, bring kids together, bring them into community, but then also to introduce to them what traditional sports has given to all of us. And that's not only community, but teamwork, camaraderie, relationships, organized play, governance,
strategy.
leadership strategy, coaching, development. Like, think about all the things we've learned in traditional sports. All that can be learned in esports. But esports was either focused on the adult professional team, so it was the top down, not the bottom up, and it was only focused on your top tier players. But there was no pathway to helping people get to that top tier. All of your top tier gamers will tell you the battles, the struggles, the fight, the issues they dealt with to get there. But if you think about it, that's no different than any other athlete, right? Like a
Correct.
professional athlete, a football player. Think about the countless workouts, the hell days, the diets, the training, the weightlifting, the commitment you need to have to get to that level. Esports players have that same level of commitment. to get to that top tier gaming stage, right? But the difference between an esports player and an NFL baseball football player is that there are organizations and structure and platforms for you to get help to get there. So all you need to have is the heart to do it. There are systems that help you build up to that. In esports, even though you have the heart to do it, there are none of those structures. It's like you're left on your own.
There's no AAU, there is no Little League, there is none of that.
None of that until Valhalla, right? And so now we've brought in structure to an environment that lacked structure for the youth. And so now if you're someone who's 5 to 17 and you have a passion to learn, grow, and develop through esports, we now create that for you. We place you on teams. We give you a head coach. We put you into a league. You go to practice every week. You have game time every single week. It is everything you've gotten from traditional sports now in esports.
That's awesome.
We have our own league. We have our own tournament platform. We have our own production. We do everything to showcase what esports is becoming and has become. And so it's really been an amazing journey because we have taken something that really has been kind of like this again, there's over 50 million gamers, kids, 50 million kids who are under the age of 17 engaging in gaming, but none of them had support or structure.
Yeah.
And so we're giving that for the kids and for the parents too.
And I love that you mentioned the parents there at the end, because that's what I was going to bring up is I have this battle every day, right? Like, you got to do homework, but I want to go game. Okay, well, is like you got to do what you're responsible, but because it is seen as a leisure activity, right? Where it's like they're wasting time in front of the screen, and parents, as a parent, you want to protect your children from that. There is conversations that they could be having online with a random person, and you want to protect your children because you don't know who they may be speaking to, right? So there's all these different taboos and things that parents get worried about. And then on the other side, I have one of my sons is in basketball, AAU, with a coach, and he's got tournaments, and they have the structure you're describing at Valhalla, and that doesn't give me the same level of concern or worry, right? Because I know the environment they're in is safe. I see their teammates. I see them working together. I have another kid in MMA. I see their sensei. I see so you see progress, and as a parent, you can't really measure the progress or where they're headed in gaming or in esports. Valhalla provides all of that. A safe environment for them to grow, security, safety, like all those things matter. How do you explain that to parents, right? So that they can start seeing this world just as they would see basketball or baseball or football in that kind of structure and environment.
Yeah, no, that's a great question and a great call out, because it's hard, right? Because again, a lot of parents don't understand the esports language. A lot of parents don't understand that esports teaches communication, strategy, decision-making under pressure, team leadership, digital literacy, even content monetization and game development monetization. But it also teaches drone piloting skills, aeronautics, cybersecurity. I mean, the list keeps growing because we are moving more into the digital age, right? Now think about robotics.
Right.
Like, we're seeing robotics become the norm in our society. Well, who do you think is coding and building and developing and designing these robots?
Gamers.
They're engineers who were once gamers, right? So it's like it's like the minor league of this digital entrepreneurship or any digital or technology career out there.
Right.
So it's the minor leagues to become a professional player. It's the minor leagues to become a game designer. It's the minor leagues to become a tech engineer. It's the minor leagues to become a digital entrepreneur. It's the minor leagues for everything. And so once you show a parent that esports creates a pathway to college where scholarships are being given, there's over 200 colleges today that are giving full ride scholarships to esports gamers, and more and more and more keep adding it to their as a sanctioned sport in their university. Matter of fact, you check it out now, Syracuse University just finished building their esports arena on campus. Like, more and more schools are adding this as a vertical because they recognize not only the enormity, but the power of esports.
Yeah.
But then you start looking at not just the college opportunities, but now there are esports degrees. You can actually get a master's degree in esports management and technology. And so now there's a degree that goes along with it because they're recognizing esports as its own industry, right? But then you move into esports can motivate careers. So now you have all of these careers, such as being a professional, or being or moving into a career of technology or digital, or a career in digital science or analytics. Like these are all things that these esports gamers are able to, they're already doing every day because of the practice and repetition and the skills they're developing playing these games. And again, so there's all these careers that are being introduced, including entrepreneurship, that parents just don't realize and see because
There's no connection.
Yeah, but we're too busy seeing gaming from the way we played gaming. So I always say you're don't watch your kids through a rear view mirror. Like
Right.
don't watch your kid. Don't think gaming is what we used to do. No, gaming is a lot different. You watch some of these games they play, like Valorant or League of Legends or Fortnite. There's a lot of decision making that needs to be made. There's a lot of pressure they're putting under. There's economy that they have to figure out. There's teamwork, there's strategy. There's a lot that goes into it. But when you let your kids do it by yourself, you're not able to show them these transferable skills. When you do it with them, it provides these teachable moments, right? And you are a great example of using gaming as a platform to building relationships with your kids, right?
Absolutely.
Your boys have a stronger relationship with you now because you are gaming with them. But that's no different from me and my mom have an amazing relationship. But it was my mom who played catch with me. It was my
Yes.
mom who used to rumble and wrestle with me. It was my mom it was her and I together. And so that relationship begun because she met me where I was at. She got me into football. She supported my football journey. She was there with me. But parents today are going, you're gaming. I'm pulling you away from it
Right.
when that's their new third space and parents don't want to meet them there. So we are helping parents meet their kids where they're at, but then also helping them recognize where your kids are at, where this can take them. Because parents don't realize what this information, what this knowledge that's being given to them, where it can truly take them. These are the next Elon Musk and
Yeah,
the
man.
next Jeff Bezos of the world.
Yeah, and you're helping parents make the connection. So because in years back you would hear if you're not teaching your kid to code and to be a coder, then they're going to be left behind. Well, guess what? Now there's AI that can code itself, and you don't need to code. You just tell AI code this and make me an app, and then it does it, right? So things change rapidly, and if you're unable to see beyond that and teach your kids how to stay ahead of it, then yeah, it is true. They're gonna fall way behind.
Yep. Can I add something that you hit the nail on the head, right? All the things that we assume are the careers for tomorrow are not anymore, right? It's like, again, if you think teaching your kids coding is what's going to help them be prepared for tomorrow, no, because AI is doing it for you.
Right.
What you need to be teaching your kids is vibe coding. And all vibe coding is you being able to program AI to create what you want. So in essence, your artistry, your creativity, your ability to communicate to AI is more powerful than you learning how to code it.
And these kids are
Right.
doing it every day when they're interacting in gaming. I got to tell you, looking back at especially when I was in college, what I enjoyed doing most in gaming, Madden and MLB, and like mostly the sports franchises in gaming, had this franchise mode where you would own a franchise and you would start in like a minor league baseball stadium.
My favorite, yeah.
And I would you control the price of the peanuts and the sodas and the beers and the ticket prices. And if your team was good and people were coming, you can raise prices and make money. If you raise it too much, it really taught me, offer and demand, certain economics that
Margins and profitability, yeah.
but I was unaware that I was doing it. And mind you,
playing a game.
I was playing a game. I was a college baseball player, so I was playing a baseball game. But little did I know that came in super handy now because it's the basis of everything that I do. So I love the idea that we're helping adults connect and give their children an opportunity to do it. However, Valhalla is in expansion mode because
Yeah.
esports and gaming is in expansion mode. And you mentioned that
Yeah.
you have a brick and mortar model, which I love. And by the way, we have to work on this Miami location. I already told you I want it.
Yes.
I want it. I
Yeah.
want my kids to be the first ones there. But beyond that, this is a digital era and a digital space. Where do
Yeah.
you see the growth of it from a Valhalla standpoint, and where's the company headed? Are you guys raising capital? Like, what are the opportunities? Because you mentioned AAU and how this
Mhm.
is basically the AAU, and I know that Russell Westbrook has an AAU team, and I know that there's a lot of baseball players that open academies. What is the opportunity that athletes have to participate in this? Because they're gamers themselves, and beyond that,
Yeah.
where is the space headed beyond brick and mortar?
Yeah. So I'll answer the last question first. So where we're headed is we will always continue to build more brick and mortars, but we're going to do that strategically and thoughtfully. And how we're doing that is we're going to create a digital platform of Valhalla. So now you can join Valhalla wherever you're at, right? So you don't need just a brick and mortar to experience what Valhalla brings, but it will never replace what the physical locations do. It will just introduce the gamer and the kids and the parents to what the physical location will ultimately provide and even more, right? Because it's the in person experience that creates the power. But that digital landscape allows us to identify markets to go to bring a new Valhalla arena. So when you have a market of 300 gamers in a particular city, and then you bring them an arena, now you create this excitement. And then once that arena opens, day one, that arena is now profitable. So we're creating the market demand because the demand's not there. We have to be the ones to create it. And
Got it.
online allows us to do that. Our goal right today, we're in 20 states. Our goal is to be in every state, every major city across the United States. And then our goal is to take it globally. We want to be in other countries. We want to create this ecosystem where kids can see themselves competing and growing in the world of esports. I hate to use this as an example, but the same way Little League has done what Little League has done for baseball, because Little League is just not a domestic game, it's an international game. And
Absolutely.
look at a lot of our international stars who are in the Major League Baseball today because of Little League, right? That's the same thing we're creating with these sports. Now, the great thing is the international competition's already there. They're already light years ahead of us. So here domestically, we have to speed up. And but what we are doing domestically is creating that youth little league version that is going to bring all the top young gamers in the world together to be a part of this. And then now really creating the ultimate level of competition like no other. Then once we capture the youth market, obviously high schools need to grow this nationally. Then you have universities who need to continue to formalize ways to find their recruits. Then you have professional teams that need to find their players, and then Valhalla can create their own professional teams. We have digital tournaments that we can also host as well, and then continue to grow the hybrid virtual digital model too. Like this is never ending.
Right.
The key for us though is we need to be first because we are the ones defining the market. And so our pathway to scale is critical. And that's the reason why we've moved as fast as we've been moving, because someone is going to own this space and it's going to be us. And so we've done this all self-funded from day one. And so this is the first time we've actually gone out and we're raising capital this year to help us accelerate our growth because the first who defines this market is the first who's going to win this
You're
market.
gonna plant that flag, of course.
And we are going to be the ones that plant that flag without a doubt.
That's awesome, and I love it. I went to a live esports championship. It was a Call of Duty championship with one of our athletes, and there was a crowd, and the players were in the middle of it, and you could see it. And they had a screen in front of them, and you could see the big screen with everything that was happening,
Mm-hmm.
and it was as exciting as going to watch
Yeah.
any live
Yeah.
sporting event.
Yep.
Obviously, as a gamer, I understood it, and you know Warzone, and the circle is closing. kind of like in Fortnite, and now there's one guy left, and the entire team is telling them where to go and what to do. It is so exciting to watch, man.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
like it's hard to believe that this isn't going to become a major sport in the coming years. I love what Valhalla is doing. Listen, Morris, I know we're up against the hour, and you and I could do this forever. I think this is volume 1 of multiple podcasts.
There you go.
This is volume 1 of a bunch, but I love.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing more of your story. Next time we'll dive right into things because there is a bunch of stuff, more things that I want to talk to you about. But most of all, I want to thank you, man, because you're somebody that makes a huge difference in athletes' lives, and we share that through Axo Maximus. But then as entrepreneurs, through our hotel developments, and now what you're doing with esports, I think you really are making a difference. And as you're saying, you're living your purpose. You found your purpose and you're living it. And that's something I really, really admire, my friend. So I want to tell you, I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. And let's do this again sometime.
Yeah, well, no, thank you for having me. And I'll finish with this. I've learned from past athletes to where I need to be. I'm helping traditional current athletes today with where they're at. And then what's funny is I'm helping the next generation of athletes. So it's like to see this come full circle is a lot of fun, and being able to do it with people like you, people like Brian, people like Vince, who supports us as well. That's what makes this so much fun. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend. Thanks everybody for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you again soon.